Yo, welcome to another episode of the Bjj Goons podcast. I'm one half of the team here today, Tim, the Mushmaster Spriggs, and with me, as always, is.
Yo, what's up, everybody? It's Nico Ball, no new Nico. Glad to be back. What's good with you, Tim?
Just regretting a lot of life decisions I've made.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. Listen, my friend put it to me like this. He's a Muslim. He said that in Islam, we look at it like sometimes we make decisions that might suck or we think are bad, but it could be Allah just looking out for you. So I'm just gonna try to frame it like that. So if you listen to the last episode, you're gonna know what I'm regretting right now, but it's okay. It's a lesson learned. I'm gonna move on with my life, and hopefully, somehow, Yahweh, Harayashai, Allah is looking out for me, and it's on to greater things. But right now, I just want to hit myself upside the head with this bottle, this personalized Mushmaster bottle, by the way. I want to hit myself upside the head with it, but I'm not. Nico, what's new with you?
The last thing I want to say on that topic before we move on is because we're working on the sound on the podcast, we're working on the lighting. I do a lot of other studio work. Lighting is really, really hard. And I'm so pale during the winter. I could be tan right now, Tim. I could have been in Brazil getting tan, but
Yo,
summer's
stop.
coming. My tan season is coming, but I digress. Welcome to another episode of the Bjj Goons podcast.
Lord, kill me now. Yeah, so we got a lot to talk about today. We have a lot to discuss. Let's get into it, I guess.
Yeah, it's another solo episode, just me and Tim. We do a lot of venting, a lot of talking about random stuff. We're gonna bring it back to BJJ, get into a poll that we took with some people. Tim's got some opinions. I definitely have my opinions. I think they're just completely biased and unfounded in any factual thing. But yeah, today our topic is gi versus no gi. So why do you want to get into this one, Tim? Anything spark this interest?
Because I get asked this question all the time. Literally, every time I ask a question, not I ask a question, I go on Instagram. I say, hey, ask me anything. Every time. And multiple times within that day, I get asked, which is better? Which do you like more? Which is more practical? Gi or no gi? So I just decided to ask a few of my jiu-jitsu brethren, the homies, the goons, what they thought. So we both asked, and we got a lot of interesting answers. Would you like to give your take, or would you like to give the take of the people that you asked? Which should we do first?
Well, let's start with them.
All right, let's go.
We'll go back and forth. All right, so I got one. We asked former BJJ Goons guest Devontae the Bones Jones, and he said he doesn't really have an elaborate answer. He just prefers training in a gi because that is what he started first.
I got a answer from multiple time world champion Jessica Flowers. She said no gi because I started in wrestling, and when I went to jiu-jitsu, they completed perfectly for me.
Jessica Flowers, where is she from?
She's from Brazil.
Really?
Yes.
Where? And she started wrestling in Brazil?
Yes. We need to get her on the pod because her story is very interesting. Like to start from jiu-jitsu, and she beat Gabby Garcia, one of the few people to beat Gabby Garcia clean.
Oh, definitely, because part 2 of this episode is the importance of takedowns Tim wanted to talk about, but my opinion is that wrestling in Brazil sucks. So we'll get into that later. Let me go into the next one. Jamil Hill, or Shane Jamil Hill Taylor, if you know him from Flow Grappling and his numerous names, says, I prefer training in a gi because that's been my primary focus goal-wise since I started training, so my mind focused more on improving and developing those techniques. But I will say, I think Nogi is funner for the same reason because I don't spend a lot of mental time thinking about Nogi, so there's no pressure or no stress, just fun. And I don't do as much Nogi, so I come across new stuff more often. I think that's an interesting perspective for somebody that's kind of like very analytical and in their head. You know, those kind of people that have trouble not overthinking things. Um,
I think it's great. I like how he said it doesn't give him a lot of stress. And I think that's the key to a lot of people's jujitsu, that you just let it flow. And for someone on his level that's been doing it so long, I mean, I think that can only be beneficial. A lot of the things that I do in a match when it comes to scrambles, I'd say it's an 8. I think it just comes from the ether just by virtue of me training for so long. And if you're a world class, all time great jiu jitsu guy like Jamil, it can only be beneficial. He had a close match with Nicky Ryan at ADCC, and Jamil, you could argue he kind of won that match, or at least it was a draw. And I know Nicky and them, they watch film all the time. And, they only do Nogi. So just imagine how great Jamil is. And he's just not even putting a lot of mental thought into it. That's insane. It's a testament to being able to just let it flow. I think it's beneficial. I think that helped me a lot when I went on my second run of jiu-jitsu. Just being able to let go and just let shit happen. When I got those highlight reel guillotines, that's all because I didn't overthink it. It really wasn't a part of the game plan. You just do it.
no set patterns. You gotta flow like water.
Yes, like water.
Who else you got?
Muhammad Ali, ironically, I'm just gonna delete that from my mind. Okay, that was a fuck up.
It's cool. We have 11 boxes that need to go to Brazil, and now I feel like you can redeem yourself. We'll make our own trip to Brazil, and it will be better because it will be for us. They're not going to pay you, but they weren't going to pay you before. So now it will be like an expense.
You just ruined my day because I'm gonna regret everything I've done in my life now. Anyway, Muhammad Ali says, "Gi, bro," because it's all I've been training for 12 years. It's worked.
I love Muhammad. That was the most basic. Like Muhammad would be elaborate. Muhammad has all of these elaborate conceptual answers. He's like, nah, bro, this is just what I do.
That's the real deal. Keeping it simple. Go ahead.
I love Muhammad. All right, last one for me is from Dante Leon. This is what I assumed. He said, I prefer no gi because of the excitement and the connection it has to the fans versus the gi. Fans are far more entertained and can relate more to no gi competition, as in America, many wrestled in high school or in college, trained or are fans of MMA and can see the similarities in no gi competition. Also, the no limit mindset when submission holds. That's definitely the answer I expected from Dante. Dante is a powerhouse. When I first started doing highlight videos, and I was just a white belt, it's really hard to do a highlight of a berimbolo or somebody that uses complex techniques because if you're a white belt, you have no idea what the hell they're doing. But Dante was just a savage, and it was just easy for anybody to see that he was a savage. All of his fights for like 3 minutes, so like he knew they were all finishes. It was just great for doing highlights. So Dante is definitely one of the first people that I ever really started doing match studies because I was just doing highlights and just seeing him come up through the belts and like get to black belt and how he's adapted and everything. But yeah, he's definitely an entertaining fighter.
Yeah, he's very entertaining, and his style is perfect for no-gi. I notice a lot of times too, like guys with that type of background lean towards no-gi. I will admit, if you're a super athlete, no-gi is right for you. Like that is where the big boys play. You take somebody like Aaron Donald or someone from a different sport, like a wrestler, they're gonna gravitate towards it just on the strength of it's not as complex and it's very just raw. I got an answer from Tyron Murphy, potential future guest. I want him on the show. He says, "Gi, it's beautiful. The infinite transitions, more engagement. My no-gi infinity is because of freestyle wrestling." Interesting. Yeah. Next, we got a response from Kieran Keychuck. Can you tell everybody who Kieran is, Nico?
So Kieran is a crazy Canadian. Yo, these Canadians, because if we think about Aaron's boyfriend and Kieran just pops up. He is a TLI affiliate. He's a member. He's got his black belt now. And he comes and does all his major training camps at TLI. And he also pops up all over the world at Abu Dhabi. He'll be at Europeans. He goes to a lot of the competitions. Very scrappy.
Yeah, he's a dog, and he loves to go for submission. It's interesting what he said. I like both, but right now I would lean towards no-gi, mostly because people are down to scrap for the submission. That sounds like something Kieran would say. I mean, duh, Kieran did say it, but he loves to go for submissions. What do you think about that?
I think it goes a lot to his personality. Like I see him in training. I see when he gets frustrated when he can't do things. Like he's really out there to try to do his best and to execute what he wants to do. So when he's hunting for those submissions, he really expects to get them.
Yeah,
I love it.
I like that style. I like it a lot. I wish I was more submission oriented. I know you're like, did you tell people a lot? Yes, I do. But I'm kind of a stickler to the old position before submission type thing because I like to dominate. You know, I view submissions as something that you catch in the transition to when you're trying to get to good position. Now on the feet, it might be a little bit different. Sometimes I might even give somebody concussion, which is technical submission. But I'm always looking to go for high percentage stuff where it's like checkmate as opposed to just knockout blow. But I like that perspective. Aaron Hurley messaged me and said, he, because it's slower and there's less scramble. It's also more likely that I'll be a stronger opponent when wearing a gi versus without. Thoughts?
I definitely think that's true. I think the grips really help you secure a stronger opponent.
Mm, yeah, it it helps. If I'm going against a big, strong dude, being able to get a collar sleeve grip is a lot more helpful. Less, a lot less likely for them to explode on me. You know, explosive people, they are very good at those because you can't just grab them and stop them like, oh shit, grab the collars or whatever. But
Yeah, it's like how do you control the knees? How do you control the legs, no gi, if you can't just grab that pant and just get a nice good grip on the knees, control it,
it
throw the legs to the side, like
it requires a lot more. What is the word I'm thinking of? You need to be a lot more technical when it comes to grips, and you have to use your whole body kind of. Like if someone's a knee cutter, I can't just lock up a regular ass half guard because since they're probably slippery or they're being able to move more, they can do more shit and they can like fall back for leg locks, and I can't just hold them. So I have to like use my body and angle them like a C grip, like a cat's paw grip or like a monkey grip. Like you rely more on hooking and pressure and holding. Like if I'm doing sitting guard on someone in nogi, I have to make sure that the bend of my knee is behind their ankle, my bend of my elbow is behind their knee. Like I'm cupping on and I'm tight, you know, and
yeah,
plus anticipation more.
too
That's
much.
hard. Too much. Too much if you're a little person, because you're like, even if I do this shit right, I don't have like a safety valve to hold on to. Last one I received was from former guest Christina Barlon. She says, definitely gi. I didn't understand jujitsu at all the first time it was shown to me, and that experience was in no gi. I was convinced jujitsu wasn't for me until I tried it with the gi on. As a smaller, weaker person in comparison to my other teammates, the gi made me feel strong and empowered. The gi also made jujitsu make sense. I didn't understand the concepts of technique and leverage until I was introduced to the gi. I also enjoy the intricacy the gi provides. I kind of get into these matrix moments where I can feel movements and exchanges slow down, even though physically I'm scrambling or moving fast. I don't feel like I reached that same level of awareness in no gi. A great response.
Yeah. To me, that's like exactly it. Like she talks about the leverage, understanding the concepts of leverage. Like I started training MMA, so I started and I did 3 years of just no gi before I transitioned to training in a gi, and I didn't do that until I actually moved to Brazil. But I feel like training nogi before that, it was just like a lot of force. It was just like a lot of pressure passing and then trying to like crank necks. And it wasn't until I put on a gi that I really learned how to like manipulate things like leverage, things about pressure, things about like what you need to lift off the ground or hold down onto the ground. And those concepts didn't really come a lot with nogi.
All right, so I'm gonna give my take on the debate. Here's the thing. Oh, did we go into? Oh, I forgot. DJ answered. DJ hit me up. DJ had a very interesting perspective. I actually wrote this down. It was a part of a larger conversation. But DJ said this: they're both jujitsu. He likes gi more because you can do more in it, and you can do gi forever.
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 Forever. How is
Forever.
that? Like till you're old or like hours and hours and hours?
I mean, I don't think you can do jujitsu hours and hours and hours, but I think what he meant was you can do it in old age. And I tend to agree. Here's why. Nogi jujitsu is high impact, more so than I would say gi, because you're not able to slow the game down the same way. You are constantly moving or trying to get into the exact precise position where you can get nice body lock grips where you got third point pressure in the right spots, you're holding them in place, or you got your legs locked in. Like, it's very small margin for you to get control. And because it's such a high impact sport, it's a different sport than gi. It's so high impact that if you're older, it's a little bit more dangerous.
You said it was a very small margin to get control, and I just think that's a really interesting way to look at it because that's very true.
Very small margin. Like in gi, if we're on the feet, if I get cross collar, same size sleeve grip, it slowed it down. But if you're doing stand up with no gi, you're just doing collar tie, or you're doing a Russian, or you're grabbing a wrist, 2-on-1 on a wrist, or you're shooting in and you're holding onto a leg. There's no feeding a lapel around the leg. There's no just having a grip. That'd be like, you know, grabbing somebody with their clothes, like grabbing somebody at a hoodie on and trying to control them, as opposed to like they're all oiled up and lotioned up, and they're just running away from you like a greased hog.
Yeah, that goes back to that question of whether people like to compete gi, no gi with long or short sleeves, and it's like I definitely prefer short sleeve just because I'm sweatier and slippier.
All right, I'm gonna tell you, when I won Nogi Worlds at purple belt, I definitely shaved my arms and legs, and I always moisturize, I always put lotion on, but and I had short sleeves on because I don't want any friction. I wanted to be slipping and sliding,
Yep.
and then it benefits me because I'm quick. Another thing with Nogi, it benefits the athlete more. If you are a true NFL combine level athlete, the transition to Nogi is much easier. It's explosiveness. All you need to do to take someone down in Nogi is a good wrestling shot. There's no grabbing somebody. There's no none of that. If you have a good double leg, you can dominate in Nogi. Now if the person pulls is a little bit different, but even if they pull, notice something with Nogi too. Since it's such a low level of entry to be able to compete at a high level, look at Nikki Rod. Nikki Rod doesn't know the same amount of jiu-jitsu as Muhammad. Nikki Rod definitely doesn't know the same amount of jiu-jitsu as Cyborg, but what did Nikki Rod have? Division 3 wrestling, which for jiu-jitsu, we're going to get into the difference of athleticism and whatnot, skill level in jiu-jitsu. Which in jiu-jitsu, a Division 3 collegiate wrestler is going to be in the top tier takedown guys. And if you're in the heavier division where these guys don't want to freaking pull, you are going to be at a distinct advantage. depending on the rule set. As opposed to gi, man, like Ty said, the amount of possibilities is like Doctor Strange, just infinite possibilities. Like I looked into 10,000 possibilities, and this one is the only one in which we win. That's the type of shit you got to deal with in gi. As far as my preference,
I was gonna ask. I was like, you gave a lot of facts and a lot of this and that,
as
but which
far
one
as
do you prefer,
as
Tim?
far as my preference, I don't really have one. I don't have one. That's why. But I'll say this: in jiu-jitsu, winning a gi world title is much more prestigious. I don't think one is better than the other, but winning a gi world title, at least at our academy, was considered more prestigious. It's more traditional. It's more traditional martial arts. When you think of traditional martial arts, you think someone wearing a gi and a black belt. And it's very difficult to win a gi world title. I mean, for me, it was more difficult. My first year black belt, I took third, and I feel like I got screwed. But it's very hard because this is jiu-jitsu. This is grappling. And whether we want to admit it or not, no matter what the people at Flow say, it is a Brazilian art form. It is Brazilian jiu-jitsu. The links go back to Brazil. And what was the backbone? What is the who fathered jiu-jitsu?
Daisy Fresh.
No.
Oh.
Wrong. Wrong. It was birthed by who?
Paleo Greek.
Who was trained by who?
Maeda?
Who was trained by who? Jigoro Kano, the founder of judo. And what do we know judo for? Throws. With the gi on.
With the grips.
With the grips.
Live by the grips, die by the grips.
And that's the tradition. Now, right now, because I'm not gonna get canceled, so I'm just gonna use this catch-all term. Americans are showing a little bit slightly better success, a little bit more competitiveness without the gi against their Brazilian counterparts. Yogi in this country has become more popular for now. It's more popular. Nogi's more popular. It gets more buzz. When you get more buzz, there's more eyes on it, more eyes on it. It's a little bit more, slightly more lucrative here.
But is it more popular among the competitors, or is it more popular in media for the reasons that people say that it tends to be more explosive and more open to viewership?
I'm going to be real with you. I don't think one is more entertaining than the other.
But we're not talking about entertainment. We're talking about like popularity. Because like I think a lot of people, when we say that something is more popular, it's because we see it more on social media. But like I would just, as an educator, like you gotta like look stuff up. So like if you look up at the rankings of no gi and the number of competitors in gi or no gi, like I would venture to say that the no gi numbers are drastically lower than the gi.
I agree.
You know who you know? Lauren Bradle. I'm gonna hit you up because you do nothing but no random facts. I'm gonna come back with the actual facts.
If you look at what they said, most of it was gi. And it's grappling, but basically it's jiu-jitsu, and jiu-jitsu is founded in the gi. And I'm gonna be honest with you, gi will help your no gi. Jamil barely does no gi, and I'm telling you now, Jamil had a close match with a guy that only does no gi at ADCC, and it was a phantom call. From my experience doing gi jiu-jitsu helped me with my no gi tremendously because the margin for error in gi is way smaller. Now the margin for being able to control someone in no gi is smaller too because it's slippery, it's more explosive, but your margin for error in gi is so little. If you get one grip in the beginning of a match, and it's your grip, like I showed in my flowchart game plans that I've given Nico, and I have available, just email me at booksprigsbjj@gmail.com or message me on Instagram. One gi can make a difference. One grip in gi can make a difference in the whole match. If someone gets a cross collar grip on you, they can pull guard, they can throw you, they can negate any takedowns you do, and that small margin for error in gi jiu-jitsu will help you become tight with your game. If I know that I can't let you get a grip, or I know every single step in this match has a consequence, as opposed to I'm just gonna explode out of this, or I'm slippery, I'm just gonna roll out.
Wait till they mess up.
You know, or depending on some of the rules at these tournaments, all I have to do is get a takedown and lay on top of you. And if you try to engage me, think about it. If this is 10 minutes into a 20-minute match, and I'm a bigger guy, and I'm doing like my straight arm lock from close guard, and all he has to do is slither out, it's gonna be tougher for me. And now what we're starting to see, what I noticed in Who's Number One, is now that traditional gi guys that are actually taking a little bit more time to learn no gi are learning, oh, this is what the leg lock guys are doing. Look at the Tyro Tolo match. Don't get me wrong. Tackett, great competitor. Tackett, probably does good in gi, but most of the time I see him in no gi, right? Tyro Tolo started with the gi on. He spends his time doing no gi, but he's a gi guy traditionally, right? So now that the gi guys are, oh, okay, this is the cheat code you guys are doing. Oh, this is how we disentangle. And oh, this is nothing but a rebolo or a re-roll that I would do in the gi, but it's way easier because they can't grab my pants leg, they can't grab my belt, they can't grab my lapel. Oh, this is the same shit. But now you don't have the cheat code anymore to catch me. So guess what? My jujitsu is ultimately better than yours because I spent the time in the gi because it's such a small margin for error. I spent that time. Jujitsu is jujitsu. I go back to what DJ said. Jujitsu is jujitsu is jujitsu. So now it's just, oh, we have less things to grab a hold of. I just found it interesting. So if we're gonna go for like which is better or which to train more, I say go with gi. There's infinite amount of possibilities, which is going to require you to remain sharp. You're going to have to it's going to require you to maintain those jujitsu principles. And if you're good at escaping someone off your back with the gi on, where they can lapel choke you, back Ezekiel you, all that shit, if there's less options, that makes you more dangerous, right? That's like if I started playing checkers, right, and I just try to do a chess tournament, I'm gonna get fucked up, right? Because there's different pieces, different rules, different possibilities.
For sure. Like I was saying before, especially like if you think about your high percentage submissions, and if you're a competitor, you should know what your high percentage submissions are. Like that's one thing that was outlined on my mind map. That's something that we always train anyway. So I know like where I like to finish would be on the mount, and it's the Ezekiel, and that's with your gi. And from the mount or side control, I don't have any other high. I don't have any other high level submissions that I've drilled. From the back, it would be like a bow and arrow choke, or a reverse Ezekiel, or maybe the dirty south, which is the short choke, and that's you can do that no gi. But it's like if you take away the gi, you take away the grips, you take away the majority of my submissions just by the numbers, like I'm kind of screwed. So it's interesting when you think about that. And like, you know, you could have a preference. Like, not it's not to say like one is better than the other. You could definitely have a preference, but it's kind of the way you got to think about how you're training it. Like, I don't necessarily like. I prefer gi because I like to have the grips. I like the variety. I like the bow and arrow chokes. I like to be able to do things to you that you have no idea what you're doing with your lapel. And you don't have that in no-gi, but you do have a large variety of other things, different grips that you're talking about. But it also requires that like concentration, and like you really have to focus on it. Like, how do you get to a high level of gi and no gi? I guess.
Well, when I started training, we did both. Over time, I focused more on the gi because there wasn't a lot of no gi options. You know what I'm saying? And although there's more no gi options now, it's still jujitsu. Jujitsu is a gi sport, whether we want to admit it or not, no matter what anyone implies or what the perception is. So what I started to do was think about, okay, it's position before submission, right? If I know I get to the mount a lot, I'm gonna know Ezekiel, but I'm also gonna learn something that is translatable. When I do takedowns, I trade both. I spent an extensive amount of time doing judo, but I also did wrestling. And then because I did those two, I was able to mesh both of them. So in no gi, I like to do a lot of blast doubles, single legs, and I do a Russian tie-up. Those things you can do in gi as well. It's a little bit easier in no gi because of lack of grips, but you can do both. I also do an Asoto in gi and no gi because it's something that translates both. If you take someone's back, you can do rear naked choke in no gi. You can do rear naked choke in gi. You can do an armbar off the back from the back in gi or no gi. So I think that if you can cater your game to stuff that you can do both, it'll be easier as well. That might solve the problem too.
What do I do about the Ezekiel then, Tim? That's my number one move.
You just got to drill the gi, no gi Ezekiel.
Is that really a thing? Like, can you make that a high percent? Like, whatever. That's a question for a private lesson.
You can make anything. Like, all right. Long story short, you can make anything high percentage if you drill it enough. But some things are easier to make high percentage than others.
But you don't have like, we're not gonna get into this too much, but like for those of you that like need to drop this money on the Patreon to ask some questions, because you need to grab your sleeve to lock it in. So I can't fathom. One would say like you don't have, like think about your body and the size of my body and my arms around you. How am I gonna try to choke you if I don't actually have this locked in to to close your neck in between my small arms if I don't have it locked in?
Okay.
Like, I've done it before. How
many people my size are you going to compete against? But I know you train
against
big
I'm an
people.
absolute killer, y'all. What the hell? Do you deny my greatness,
So
Tim?
how many... I don't not deny your greatness. But if somebody is in your division, if a girl is in your division, my size and my size of my neck and everything, she has an Adam's apple and there's a problem. Okay? Let's just say, practically speaking, you're going against someone your size. You're telling me you can't get your arms around their neck.
I can, but then like I'm saying to lock it in. Like, because again, if I have it locked in on here, what do they need to do to defend it? They need to go to this far elbow and lift it up. And the one thing that will keep them from lifting that elbow off the ground is the fact that I'm holding it down with this sleeve. So to me, like, yes, you can lock it in, but if the person is stronger without that sleeve grip, they will lift the arm up. And now I have like, because this is my high percentage move. For those of you that like maybe don't go into studying moves as much and just learn what you want. Like, I've traveled around and I've asked multiple people about this Ezekiel. Like, in New York, I've asked Master Lloyd. Like, I've asked multiple people. Like, so, like, there's other ways that I can keep it in, like using my head, but that's not the correct way to Ezekiel.
May I add another bit of advice? And it goes back to my personalized jiu-jitsu game plan flowcharts that I create for you, for all my clients. Always, I mean always, know the follow-up to when your attack fails so that you have a web in a system. So what I mean by web is this.
Arm tie on the back take. I got it.
Exactly. Even if your high percentage turns into a low percentage, you know the follow-up. Because we've all had a situation where we go for a move and there's an escape for it, right?
Mm-hmm. And so based off what I said before, if I only have one submission from the mount and that doesn't work, then like naturally I need to get the hell out of the mount and go for the back. So that's why it would be a fake arm triangle. If I get it in, I could like submit them, but to get the arm triangle you have to go off of the mount. So I prefer to like lock in an arm triangle and use that to do a chair sit to the back, and then go to where again I have 3 more high percentage moves.
Exactly.
So
that's the beautiful part about jiu-jitsu. You can chain it all together. But for the record, if I had to pick one to train, I'd go with gi. It helps you refine your technique. That's my 2 cents. Now, you guys don't have to. You can tell me an asshole. You can tell me all kinds of stuff. But that's just my opinion.
I mean, I think the world will go with gi, except maybe like Jeff from not Flowers. That's your Jeff, my Jeff. Naples. Dang, what is your last name, Jeff?
Jess Naples.
That's her man's name, but like they're pretty much one. So yeah, Jeff Naples.
Isn't that how it works when you get married?
I think her last name is Flores, and that's why I'm confused. Like, cause that's flowers in Spanish.
Yes. Or C.
Oh, okay, no.
Yeah.
All right. What is our time looking like?
All right.
So, we got time to talk a little bit about takedowns, I believe. Is that what was on the sideline?
Yes. We talking about takedowns. Takedowns like are super important in no-gi. because of certain rule sets. You can't pull. All right.
Again, why did you want to talk? Is there something that sparked this? Like you said, you had some talk points that you wanted to talk about, but like, did anything spark? Yeah, did you have questions about this? Just things that have been irking you that you've been seeing out there?
I just think that it's been always in my heart, and I feel this way. If we're martial artists, we do jujitsu. Like we do the sport of jujitsu, but not everyone does it for the sport. A lot of people do it for self defense and want to feel good. And I've been training in some striking. I've been taking striking classes. I've been learning. I've been observing. And at the end of the day, the reason why I started jujitsu was so that I would not be a victim. I want to be able to defend myself. And what bothers me about a certain idea in the jiu-jitsu community is that you don't need takedowns. People that just habitually pull guard. Now, if you're gonna do it for the sport of it, that's cool. However, I think it's important that you have takedowns because if you don't know how to take someone down, you can't really utilize your jiu-jitsu to the fullest extent. If I'm in a street fight and somebody like let's say somebody sucker punches me and I'm all wobbly, if I don't have good takedowns or I can't take someone down, I'm gonna get my ass beat. Or just hope that I can pull them into my guard and then I'll be able to submit them off my back. Look at MMA, right? All the guys that are champions have some kind of takedown ability. The best fighters. Israel Adesanya, he's a great fighter. He's one of the best. But when he went up in a weight class, he was getting taken down and pounded out. And he's a purple belt on the Andre Galvao. He trains with the best jiu-jitsu guys, one of the best jiu-jitsu teams. But he didn't submit the guy off his back. Why? Because the other guy knew jiu-jitsu, but the other guy knew takedowns, and he was able to keep it on top. He was able to stay on top. In jiu-jitsu, Rafa Mendes, right? Known guard puller, right? How many times has he lost in the gi?
I have no idea.
Very few. One of the most well-known times was when Toquinho,
Yeah.
beat him. How did he beat him?
Takedown, I'm guessing.
Yes. Being able to put him on his back. Yes. Yes. I mean, there have been guys like Keenan when I beat him. I stole too. Because he's decided to stand up on the feet and I hit him with a foot sweep and I drilled it.
I mean, you don't need to tell me this, like, as a blue belt and a white belt. Like, I'm not a guard puller. I don't know how to pull guard. I had no guard. I have a guard now, but like, I have a guard now. So I remember, like, as a white belt, I started off just trying to do the craziest blast double. Like, because again, like, the first thing you're supposed to do is get your grips. And I guess if you learn actual takedowns, they initiate them from like having your grip like a collar sleeve, right? But that collar will also stuff a takedown, right? So like my thing was like I need to get to the ground where there's jujitsu because I don't know how to pull guard and I don't know takedown, so I would just try to hit people with the blast double as far as I could, as soon as I could, and it worked for like all of my white belt. Like people think I'm a wrestler, like, but it was just my fear, and I was like, I need to get them to the ground, and then slowly started refining it, slowly started to learning to do it with grips, and now I've gotten to the point where I know I can hit in the blast double, but I don't cut the angle right. So especially in absolute, where Tim has no faith in my ability to Ezekiel people. But like, yo, I've had some good matches in absolute, okay? But I shoot in and I stay on top and like in front of them, and then they come down on top of me, and then like I'm a little pancake, and they're like, I need to learn to cut my angle.
Yes.
So the importance, like, I don't understand, like, where I was going with that. I don't understand how people couldn't bypass the importance of takedowns. It's so essential.
You need to get grips in a jiu-jitsu match. Like, let's go to gi, right? You can't just pull guard without grabbing them or touching them. Now, I wish they would actually enforce the rule and make it that you actually have to have a real grip. But if I know that you are predominantly a guard puller, I can game plan for it. I've drilled thousands upon thousands of foot sweeps. I've won matches off of it. You can steal too. You can game plan for it. And from my personal experience, when you go against bigger people, and the stereotype is right, big motherfuckers do not like to pull guard.
Oh my god.
They don't pull guard, and if they do, it's an
So
anomaly.
hard to watch.
There's very few great guard pullers that are giant. And if I've had the takedown advantage on a lot of the big guys. Even the gripping. Like if you can grip fight and you like to pull guard too, it's gonna benefit you. But I don't see guard pullers really doing the grip fighting. And if you can outgrip a bigger person, if you can take down a bigger person, that's a huge advantage. I've won opens because I went against a big guy and I just took him down. They're like, oh shit, and then they're at a huge disadvantage. As opposed to you pulling guard on someone, if you're even and the person is on top of you attacking for stuff the whole time and you can't get your offense, you're probably going to lose. I believe that if you're on top and it's an even match, you should win. Because in real life, if I'm on top of you and you can't do nothing to me, I'm punching you.
Facts. Facts. So, one question for you though.
Yeah.
So, like I was telling you, like what I used to do is I would just blast double before they could get their grips on me. Again, I would do that because I didn't know how to establish the right grips, and if they got a collar grip that I couldn't break, they stuffed the blast double. But why shouldn't? You said you need the grips before you initiate any kind of takedown. Like, why do you need the grips before you try to do like a double leg?
Okay. You don't necessarily need it, but I would advise for you to get it. Because in wrestling, without a gi on, you're hand fighting. You're moving when you're hand fighting someone, you're guiding them. It's basically grip fighting without the gi, and you're moving them and you're moving yourself in position to shoot. If you have a gi on, I grip fight with you. Snap, snap, snap. You know what I'm talking about. Snap them down, snap them down, snap and move to the side. Snap and pull them into you. Snap so you can lift the arms up and shoot in.
To make sure the right leg is forward.
If that's what
you got to shoot in on, like, if you're not good at
if you're a single leg guy, like yes.
Yeah, because if you only know how to shoot in on one leg, because like I'm coming from maybe the not well-rounded wrestler. If you only know how to shoot in on one leg, you can only shoot in on one leg. You need to make sure that leg is forward. But yeah.
Yeah. So you gotta grip fight so you can put them in the position that you want them in to take the shot. It's kind of like when you're striking and you're lining someone up for your right hand. You don't just go straight forward, square stance, and rock'em sock'em robots. You cut the angle. You know, you step to the side so you can line them up. Same thing with a takedown. If I want to shoot a double leg, I gotta get my knee in between your feet, past your feet.
That's an important thing. Like, that's one thing that I noticed. Like, if I don't get my grip, it will work for me a lot. And I have actually videos of it because, like, I record all my fights. So you can see there was one that I make the video where, like, you see I shoot in. And I'm just, like, my knee hits the ground and I'm so far away from her. But then, like, I followed it up with, like, a follow-through shot. And then came around with a hook. But I landed it. But you can just see it's a horrible shot. I shot him for so far away. When you get your grips, you know where it is. And, like, that thing, like, I'd have done private lessons with a wrestler one time in Rio. It was years ago, but I remember the very important thing, if you think about, like, the steps to a shot, is, like, you lower your level first, and then you take a step forward with your lead foot, because you do need to be in between their legs and not in front of them, and then your knee drops to the ground. And I think, like, when people learn it, like, they just drop to the ground, and they don't take that step that will put you in between their legs. Like, and that's very hard if you're not good, and if you're really small. Like, for me coming up in the white belt, that was the thing that I really had to learn, is how to get that distance and shoot in. And then, like, I also try to, like, one thing that I used to do with the blast double, and I don't, like, tap fist, like, even when I was fighting, like, I'll tap fist, but then go back to my corner. I never come to the center and tap fist and go back, because you tap fist to get your reach. So once you tap fist, you equally have reach. So if I'm just coming with a blast double, and that person's used to getting their grips, they're used to establishing a reach and have their distance. And then, like, when I don't let them do that, then they're immediately thrown off of their game. But it's not very effective. Like, it's not the best way to do it. I just made it work. Like,
actually, I'm impressed. Like, that's actually, I never really thought about that in that way. Wow, that's pretty deep. See, I'm telling you, Nico's a ninja, yo. And I'll give one more example before I wrap. I did not win this match because I was screwed. However, I went against Paul Meow when I was a purple belt in the semifinals of the Open at Worlds. I knew that he was going to pull, and before the match, DJ saw me under the bleachers like, yo, you just got to run through a motherfucker's face. I was like, you know what? You're right, DJ. So the match starts.
Why did this happen under the bleachers, though?
I don't know why. It just happened under the fucking bleachers. Okay, just know that it was like one of those mom movie scenes where, like, in the dark alley, like, you know what you gotta do, right? Yeah. Anyway, I dap him up. I back out, and I run full speed towards Paul Meow. I hit the Goldberg spear. You remember Goldberg from WCW? Launch at him. He's like, oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. He does the oh shit, like backing up. I literally tackle him, drive him, like almost like the top of my head hit his chin, take him flying. We hit the ground. I have grips on his legs. I come up with a straight ankle lock and drag him to the middle and held him in an ankle lock for the whole match. They did not give me two. Yes, nothing happened for the rest of the match. And it's funny as shit. And like, I'll put a link to the video in the description.
Oh, please do. Please.
But let me tell you something. If the refs weren't biased like jiu-jitsu refs are, I would have won that match with 2 points plus an advantage because I had a full-blown ankle lock. And the only reason why I was able to do that is not because Paulo sucks. It's because I knew without a shadow of a doubt he was going to touch me with his fingertips and sit to his ass. Simple. I didn't even have to drill that. That's like common fucking sense.
Yep, you know what they do.
If I know what you're going to do, I can game plan for it. I don't even have to be better at jiu-jitsu than you.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a rule set where you don't, like ADCC, if you pull guard, you lose, or you get a negative advantage. If I'm a big dude, or I'm a good wrestler, and all I have to do is game plan to just stay on top of you the whole match and not get swept, or I'm friends with the referee or whatever, that's easy to game plan for. As opposed to someone like a Claudio Calazans, where he can take you down and he can pull guard, and you're like, oh shit, I can't just think he's a slouch. I can't just do the prime example, Spider Invitational. Who's that close guard guy that's really good? I fought him first round, middle heavyweight. I forgot his name.
I never know anybody's name.
I forgot his damn name.
Tim making me look bad on there.
I look bad too. They're gonna think I'm CT.
Yo, you went through all these other people though. No, you got your flowers and shit with that.
Right on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, the whole match is this. I know you're gonna jump close guard. I'm gonna get the right grips because I've been doing judo for so long that I'm gonna make it extremely difficult for you to pull. Because if I have your collar and sleeve and I can shove your sleeve arm across your body, how the hell are you gonna jump guard if your arm's across your body? You're going to end up pulling into a bad position that I'm going to be able to pass you easily. So you got to take a fucked up jump. Or I can snap you down and make it so you're not able to securely have your feet in place to make a jump. It'd be like if you were slipping and sliding and trying to jump. And I won because I foot swept. A foot sweep. Because I was able to get my grips because I practiced judo. And I know that you're going to jump guard or pull guard. I can time it.
So you kept him from doing what he wanted to do.
Exactly.
Well. So I think like that's really important. Like I remember way back after my first competition, this guy, Valmir, and he actually now owns a school in South Africa, which is really dope. But I used to call him like the strategist because he would just talk and talk and talk for hours. And I was like, too much, but all strategy. And I remember after losing like my first competition, he told me something and I'll never forget this. And like it's always stuck with me. And he was like, you have to impose your game first. Because if you can do that, it doesn't matter how good they are. Like, because once they're in your game, like then they're in your game. But like again, if you let them jump guard or if you let Maisa Bastos bolo you, you're not getting out of it, no matter what. Like, but if they can't get into their game, then it doesn't matter. Like, so that's like, I guess, the importance of game planning. If you know what his game is and you know how to stop it. I tell that to people that I train with all the time. Like, they call me the crossface killer. Like, that's what I do to hold big people down because I'm cranking your neck in one direction and I'm cranking your body in the other one.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, if you don't know anything, like if you go like this the whole time, I can't cross face you because you're blocking your collar. Like, if anything, stop letting me cross face you. Don't let me hug your head. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you could try to pass, you could try to do this, but the most important thing is that you don't let me get around your head because you know I'm gonna cross face you. You know, like you can't. I know somebody that's really good with like dart strokes. Like he barely trains. He always pops up. Like, but I know if he can get a collar grip, like he'll choke the shit out of me. Like, and so it doesn't matter, even if it's like it seems like an innocuous collar grip. Like, I know that I need to address that first because like that's what he's really good at. So like I need to not let him have any part of his game, even if I think it's like not a threat.
Gotta neutralize it.
Yeah,
That's all it is. That is why I love when my clients ask me to give them a personalized flowchart game, because I take what you do best and I don't add a whole bunch of crazy stuff. What I do is take the 80-20 rule and put it into the game plan. You get 80% of your success from 20% or less of what you do. If I know that you get this grip every time, you get into this web and you can put them in your web, that's all you need to worry about. You can add different stuff, Nico. Like, I'm pretty sure you want to add stuff to it. But if you drill the stuff that I gave you in that game plan, you perfected it, who's going to stop it? Every great jiu-jitsu fighter has some stuff where if you just saw a silhouette of their jiu-jitsu and them and an opponent, you'd be like, that's something. Same thing in boxing. You can do an impression of Muhammad Ali because he did the same stuff, but who could stop it really? Same principle.
Unstoppable.
Unstoppable.
Relentless.
Do your game, impose your will. That's what it's all about. Nico, anything else you want to add today?
No, just don't forget, please stop by Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Make sure to leave a review, not just like and subscribe, but leave an actual review. That's really going to help us with the rankings and whatnot. We also have the
5 stars.
5 stars. You know it.
Unless you're a hater.
I mean, like, you could, I don't know if the reviews do the interactions, even if you're showing hate, but whatever. Also, make sure to follow me on No New Nico on Instagram for news updates. We're going to be dropping some discount codes for the Randori Invitational that is on May 29th, because we're going to have some new merch coming out then.
Also, if you want some exclusive Bjj Goons content, you want to see me do breakdowns of matches, show you guys techniques, give you my philosophy on the sport. If you want to see bonus episodes, I mean, I played the bonus episode we did with DJ from my friend that doesn't even know anything about jiu-jitsu. He was like rolling, laughing. He said it's like funny. He said he wanted to pay for it. I said, of course.
See, what happened was like and I asked DJ, he was like, I haven't seen Tim in a while. It was all pent up.
Pent up disrespect. I get so much disrespect from DJ. And then he's like, man, when we recording? Like, I don't know, bro. I don't know. I can't get slandered on my own show.
I'm gonna start doing the titles because that one should have been the lies men tell. Y'all niggas ain't shit. Like,
oh my god!
No.
Please.
they don't let me touch
y'all niggas or DJ. I put that clip over. He's like, yeah, you know, I get to be a dad, and now my girl can't leave me no more. I'm like, wow, DJ, really? You're gonna get us canceled? But that's okay. You can't cancel us because we're on Patreon. So go to patreon.com/BJJ Goons for all that good exclusive BJJ Goons content. You can find me at Tim Spriggs BJJ on Instagram or Facebook. If you are interested in one of my BJJ flowcharts where I take all your footage, I study your game, and I give you a game plan with what you do best. I look at your best techniques, your best positions, the 20% of what you do that gives you 80% or 100% of your results. Please contact me at bookspriggsbjj@gmail.com. Email me for a quote. Anything else, Nico?
That's it. Thanks for watching another episode of the BJJ Goons Show.
Peace out. Peace.